Welcome to Top Advisor Marketing, where you will learn how to become a prolific online influencer, attract more ideal clients, and grow your practice. Brought to you by Top Advisor Podcasting, a done-for-you podcasting solution built just for trusted advisors. And now, your co-hosts of Top Advisor Marketing, Kirk Lowe and Matt Halloran.
Hello and welcome to another Top Advisor Marketing podcast. You know, it's really super fun getting to know new people on this podcast. And I feel really, really lucky that I get to interview some just really bright people who've created things that are fundamentally unique and different and who are trying to change the way that people look at financial services. And our guest today is a lifelong insurance specialist, okay? But he's created something that we're going to dive into deeply today, which is called the College Money Academy. And what this does is it saves unbelievable amounts of money when it comes to college. And I'm not even going to try to explain it. I'm going to have Kelly O'Connor, who's our guest today, explain it. But this is super fun. You're looking for a way, everybody who listens to this podcast is looking for a way to differentiate themselves from an advisor down the street. And I think Kelly has an amazing marketing solution here. So Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, man. I'm honored to be here. I appreciate it.
All right, let's just find out a little bit more about you. How did you get to creating the College Money Academy?
Well, you know, I've been in the insurance industry virtually my entire career. I'm 47 years old, started right out of college, and my specialty is in life insurance strategies. And so I'm sure many of your listeners understand that there's, a lot of strategy that can happen, a lot of effective planning regarding how to pay, how to save for college utilizing insurance tools. And in comparison, say maybe to some 529 plans, and you get, as an advisor, certainly for those that step into the college arena, they'll host a presentation, maybe at a library or a hotel in order to try to educate and ultimately implement an insurance product as a strategy to help parents. I don't know. My guess would be you've heard of that before. Is that true?
Yes, sir, I have.
All right, very good. So that's where about 10 years ago, we started to step in. I had some relationships kind of in the college arena, and we really, I have 4 children of my own. I now have 2 stepkids. So at the time, having 4 kids, college was definitely something that I needed to begin to really work on, for my own family. So I literally about 10 years ago stumbled across the idea and the concept that college was a negotiable item. And I often relate it to like a garage sale or Starbucks. If you and I, Matt, if we walked into Starbucks and ordered a couple cups of coffee and the kid behind the counter said $8, we wouldn't lean over and say, come on, man, give it to me for $3. I know you can give me $5 off, right? We would pay the $8, we'd get our coffee. But if we walked directly across the street to a garage sale and we saw an item listed for $8, we would know that we would have the ability to negotiate down to maybe the $3 price. So we understand this concept, but unfortunately, as I've discovered over the years, and I'll get into the history of how this all came about, of course, but what this idea was about and what we discovered to be true was that college is the garage sale. And virtually every planner and every parent lumps it into the Starbucks category. And it's an enormous mistake for so many reasons that are quite obvious from a standpoint of how much they're paying. Does that make sense?
It does. That was a really powerful statement there you just made. I'm processing that because you're right. I mean, they do just lump everything in, don't they? They don't look at this as okay, but how did you find out that it's a garage sale?
Right. So I don't actually remember the specific event that first kind of shined the light into the room, but we started to navigate through it with some clients, and sure enough, it worked. And we saw an opportunity to make ourselves stand out even more, which would help us with our ability to, ultimately be, part of their financial planning team and sell more insurance, to be just so blunt about it. But one couple ended up sitting across from us, and it was a husband and wife team, and the husband was the principal and the wife was the head of postgrad of what was my state's #1 charter school in the entire state. And the wife sat back in her chair and she said, "Do you think you would be willing to speak to our parents? Because we always have, your standard 529 representatives, and we have a FAFSA night, and that's it." And she said, "My job, being the head of postgrad, my job and my staff's job is to help these kids get ready and to get admitted to the schools that they've earned the ability to get admitted to, but nobody's helping the parents make it happen." She goes, "I cannot tell you how many times I've seen to where a kid earned this top graded school, but the family can't send them there. And now they're going to a substandard school based upon that kid's efforts and qualifications. So would you be willing to come talk to our parents?" Now, of course, as a financial professional, we're like, heck yeah, right? We saw it as this golden opportunity where we don't have to spend any money. The school promotes the event and we just show up. So when we got there, we didn't quite understand what we were about to face. We didn't do our due diligence as the first time speaking at this place, but we had about 175 parents show up, and we're on the theater room with the lights on us, and we only had about 50 appointment request sheets. We were like, oh my goodness. And we had an 80% request for appointments, and we obviously ran out of sheets. And thank goodness that school allowed us to come back. But what started from this was, because they were the number one school, we slowly started to spread around the charter school system, because we were stepping in as financial professionals, bringing value outside of just trying to sell a product. We were helping parents discover and giving them the strategies on how to literally reduce the price for college. So at a 50,000 foot view, what we were teaching families how to drastically reduce the sticker price through negotiation. Now, what this allows them then to do, of course, is to get the kid to a school that they have earned the ability to get to without raiding their retirement, without redirecting their positive cash flow that was going to accumulation, and without having to restructure their monthly budget to accommodate all the debt. All of which you can see funnels right into how this benefits the financial advisor.
Have you found that advisors just don't want to talk about this because they don't think it's worth their time? Before you answer that, I think what you just triggered with me is you are helping financial services professionals truly become the family's advisor at this point, right?
Absolutely. And to be honest, that's not how we started. We had no desire to help other financial professionals with this. So for the first, 6 years of doing this, we swept through the charter school system. I literally was speaking all over with, there's a private university in my state. It's a $70,000 a year school. They're D1 national champs in multiple sports. And they asked me to join them in a presentation. I got to work with the head of enrollment at that school to do a joint presentation in different STEM schools. I worked with charter school or with different school district presidents, with state Senate candidate individuals. And, I literally was on the verge of becoming my state's number one college planner. But here's how, and for those listeners who are very interested in maybe stepping into that niche, you really end up with one choice. You have to become somebody that collects a $2,500 or $3,000 fee, and you be the chartered college professional. So I had many opportunities to make that happen. And I was in front of thousands of parents every year, literally, because I was so knee deep in the charter school system, and it all cost me nothing. But I never stepped into the fee-based position because I knew that I would wipe out about 85% of the parents that are there needing this strategy and wanting this help, because only about 10 to 15% could afford to write me a $3,000 check. And I never did it. I had other advisors in other states even who heard of me, offering to partner with me to say, hey man, I'll split my fee with you. I'll do all the work, because I was just sitting on a gold mine. But I refused to do it. It wasn't the model. I wanted to be able to help everybody. So here's what happened. To my shock, it took a while to get into all these different schools. Of course, this was a 5 to 6 year process. But in 5 years, I acquired only 5 clients on the insurance side. And one time I'm in a gym with two screens walking up and down with a microphone. I had hundreds of parents sitting in front of me. One time I had one person in the library. So you never knew how many would show up. But I was in front of thousands of families, and I got 5 clients. So, Matt, it was a failure, right? And here's why. And it just kind of holding up my 2 fists. When families would come in and they'd hear us speak, they knew they needed to learn how to do this. I've done this for all kinds of families. The average has been an additional reduction to the tune of $12,000 per year. Last year, for some families an assortment of families that I personally worked with, the average was $18,400 in price reduction per year. So you're talking $73,000 over 4 years that this family doesn't have to deplete their assets, redirect cash flow, or go into debt for. It's very substantial. But so a family comes and hears us talk, and they realize they've got to use this service, and they would come in and we would help them with this. We would educate and show them exactly how to do this. And then we would try to transition over to being part of their financial planning team. And there's this invisible wall. It's unbelievable how they go, no, we got that taken care of. One of our advisors is one of your listeners, right? And they like their advisor, and they go, no, you helped us with college, thank you. And it was so difficult to bridge the gap. And I'm not a bad speaker. You can see a presentation I recently gave to a top financial firm here, educating their clients or their advisors. I'm not a bad speaker at all, and I'm really good across the table. But why couldn't we get them as financial planning clients? And it's because they separate these two. So the bridge then is to become a college planner and charge $3,000 for a family, which I never wanted to do.
Sure.
And that's where we started College Money Academy.
Okay. So this is all, you're teeing this up wonderfully, right? I mean, it makes an enormous amount of sense. So you were doing all of this literally great work in enlightening so many people, but then you needed to try to figure out that you're a successful business person. So how do I make this successful? So that's when this was born, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And so what I did, I actually met this guy. He heard me talk, and I ended up knowing him for a couple years after. And we were having lunch, and he asked me how it was going. And I said, well, I'm speaking all over the place. It's going good. I said, I just can't, I'm doing it for free. I mean, literally, I did it for free, minus those 5 clients during that time that I had acquired. And he's an online marketing guy. That's how he has made a lot of money in what he does. And he was a client of mine as well. And he said, Kelly, have you ever thought about making this an academy that parents and families can subscribe to where you just brain dump all that you teach them in your presentations, and then when you dig in with them in your meetings, what if you put it out as an online academy that they can subscribe to, and you can market it across the country? And now, of course, I'm like, now I can help everybody. That was the component that I was missing, that I knew that I could build that. So it took about a year to get all that on paper, to break it down, which, our online academy, if you were to, from start to finish, it could be done in about 3 hours, but it's broken down into a series of, 2 to 3 minute videos that are organized in modules. And then we started marketing it, but the desire was still to market it to the public. But as you can imagine, it's very difficult to get somebody's attention with a little Facebook ad, because I've yet to have a family raise their hand that they knew you could negotiate with a school. So from a marketing standpoint, it was tough to get their attention because no one knows you can even do this.
So how can an advisor utilize this without cannibalizing another part of their practice?
Yeah, great question. So within the academy, we were strategic at the time to ensure that we did not include anything about financial product or paying for college. So there is nothing that would counter another advisor. Meaning, and at the first, we did this for, let's say a family finds us in Florida. We didn't want to go at it from an insurance perspective and try to sell them financial products, because we knew that the goal was, to just help them reduce the cost of college by understanding how to negotiate, specifically in this arena with the schools. So it wasn't about financial product. Well, now that we have transitioned into working with advisors on this, we don't counter them in any way. We make them look like a hero. So there is nothing in there at all that is going to teach, you need to do insurance and not a 529 or vice versa. There is nothing that makes them look, that challenges their position as the advisor. It is 100% the garage sale component of college, period. So what that led to was a very large financial firm there across the entire country. They have about 85,000 representatives across the country entirely. And their number one office I got connected to, and they asked me if the listeners want to hear it, so it's directly to financial planners, on our College Money Academy YouTube page. I had my video crew show up to record this presentation. But this company is considering rolling us out to all their advisors, and they wanted me to speak to their number one office. So I'm in front of the top, what would be basically the top 100 people in this company. And not one of them, when I asked them towards the end, I said, how many of you knew you could do this? In the video, you see me say, I say, okay, one, but he kind of flimsily raised his hand. I talked to him afterwards, and he shouldn't have raised his hand, but not one of them. So when you sit back and you look at what this means, I have 4 kids. There's a state school, just a state university, not a private university. There's a state school in my state that's $38,000 a year. One kid, $38,000 times 4 is $152,000. So for one kid to send to this school, if we get nothing, is $152,000. If I send all 6 kids, so I have 4 of my own and 2 stepsons. So if I send all 6 kids to this school, that's $912,000. And I'm one family. So as my advisor, if one of your listeners is my advisor and they get the phone call, I'd like to ask them, I wish we could get one of them on and say, let's pretend that you go to your office tomorrow and there's a voicemail for me. And I'm like, hey, John, this is Kelly. I got 6 kids, dude, and they all want to go to XYZ University, and I want to send them there too, but I don't know how we're going to do this, man. Can you help me? Like, what goes through the mind of the advisor?
Well, screaming, first off, because they think that you're going to deplete your retirement assets under management with them to pay for the $1 million of college.
Right. I mean, even if it was one kid at $152,000, you would say, dude, I told you that 8 years ago. You should have come to me then.
Yeah.
That's about $17,000 a year, about $1,400 a month. We should have been saving 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. And there might be some advisors going, yeah, that's me. I'm that good. I get on it early. My people are ready. And as I told this office, I said, if that's you, don't fool yourself. Because what you're admitting now is that the best option is for you to have your clients pay full price and deplete the asset. Mm-hmm. Would you prefer them to only deplete half of it because you learned how to negotiate with the school? Of course. So from the advisor standpoint is where this really makes sense, is A, we don't want to deplete and rate assets if we don't have to. That just helps our AUM. B, we don't want to redirect all the positive cash flow, right, to accommodate a $38,000 a year pit of an expense. So if they are shoving that money into assets that they have accumulated with us, we would prefer to continue to receive those monthly or annual deposits into their assets than just going off to some expense. Or C, we don't want it to be restructuring their monthly budget to accommodate now a loan that they're going to pay on for 8 to 10 years. So learning how to do this can change everything, not only for the family, but it can mean millions of dollars to one advisor.
All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, if you don't mind. Mm-hmm. So I'm an advisor. Can I take your course and learn this well enough to execute it with my clients, or no?
You could. You could. So my course, there's a couple ways it can be done. You can get in and on a monthly basis, it's like $47 a month, and anybody can subscribe to the course and they can learn how to do all this, get the tools that they need, the appeal letters, which I'll explain, and they could learn all of it in a month and cancel. That's fine. An advisor could do it and then teach their clients. And we know that's going to happen. But what we hope advisors do, what we ask advisors to do, is send their clients to it. Right? Let them subscribe and learn. And you, as the advisor, learn the basics of how this works. But are there going to be advisors that pay maybe $47, learn it, and then that's it? Yes. And there's really no way that we can stop that. But it's designed for the consumer, right? It's designed for the parents. Our academy isn't designed for the directly to advisors. So, I can't control exactly how they use it, but that's okay. My goal I love Steve Jobs' goal. I think he has one of the best stated goals of all time. His goal was to flick the universe. What a great goal. So my goal with College Money Academy is to flick the college system. And you look at how college is in the news today, and for the very first time, it started with this whole college scam recently. College and paying for college and the amount of college is really in the spotlight. And CNBC online, they just posted an article about how to reduce our opportunities to reduce the cost by negotiating. And it says in this article, schools don't advertise it, but you can attempt to negotiate with them. And it's one of the very first articles I've ever seen that this exists. And so this is the opportune time to dig in. But I want to flick the college system. And by that, when I'm standing in front of this group, this number one office, and not one of them raised their hand that they knew how to do this, that means that all of the clients, the thousands of clients represented in that room, don't know either. Yep. And I know that to be the case because I've stood in front of so many parents and none of them knew you could do this. So my goal is to be run out of business because all the parents and all the advisors know that you can do this, and let's put the pressure on the government and the schools to find a way to change it, because parents know all the parents are sending in requests for negotiation because these schools, they got to get butts in seats. Mm-hmm. So if parents are refusing to go unless there's a deal and they don't have butts in seats, that's a major problem. So I want to be run out of business because I want every advisor across the country to know you can do this. And therefore every client to know, hey, we can negotiate and strike a deal.
Huh. I love it, Kelly. You'd be surprised how many people come on this show who say, I would love to work myself out of a job, right? That right there. So I want everybody to just think about that statement. That's the theory of abundance. That's the theory of wanting to share thought leadership to help something greater than yourself. And Kelly, I think you have communicated that so succinctly that this is a win-win across the board. So in the time that we have left, what in God's name should our listeners do if they want to take advantage of this?
Well, they got to educate themselves. So I would strongly recommend they go to the College Money Academy YouTube page and look at, there's a video there. It's that is me it says educating financial planners. Mm-hmm. And that was recently posted. Our YouTube page is something that was, fairly recently. I added a whole bunch of videos. I had them hosted somewhere else. So, what I was doing before was educating individual families on this. But now that have been working with other advisors, that page is built out. So it's not like I have hundreds of thousands of views by any means. It's a small page, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. But that presentation is number one, what should be watched first, without a doubt, because I'm standing in front of all of your listeners' peers, and I'm standing in front of the number one office of an 85,000 strong entity. So I'm not in with a bunch of rookies here. And we were working on whether or not we're going to partner with them. And I confidently stood in front of them and said, I don't know if we're going to do it, because advisors need to take this seriously. They kind of have to put the ego a little bit on the shelf, if you will, because there's some things that they don't know you can do. Mm-hmm. But again, our academy will in no way challenge them. And it's very specific for that. I strongly respect our industry, and I'm not going to try to make myself look like I'm some, hero. But this is not some new little gizmo. It isn't just some too good to be true. It's a light, literally, that gets turned on that brings about the reality that this is negotiable. And there's very clear reasons as to why. And it's not difficult to expose. So it very quickly becomes something to where people go, oh my gosh, you're right. I didn't know we could do that. So I would ask that your listeners watch that presentation because it's completely relevant to them, as I was in front of what would be their peers as well.
And we'll make sure that we have that link in the show notes to watch that video. It's a full-blown presentation, right? We should probably set them up to realize that this isn't like a 3-minute presentation, right? It's like 40 minutes?
Yes, that's correct. Okay, so there's some Q&A, but
good.
but I believe I'll keep their attention. I believe they will not be turning off, going, "Oh my God, this guy's a bore." So but yes, it is. It was I had 45 minutes, and I took about 40 of them.
Nice. Well, and so with all of this, abso-flippin-lutely, right? We're going to make sure that we drive people to your YouTube page to watch the video. And if you don't mind, if people just want to go ahead and give you a holler or even just bring this immediately to their clients, what are the next steps for them there too, please?
Sure. The next steps are just collegemoneyacademy.com.
Okay.
And there's several videos on there. There's stuff below the fold if you keep scrolling, even some testimonials. And again, they are completely safe. I know your listeners will want to check it out first. But if they simply just add it to something they recommend for their clients, again, it's totally safe to send your clients there. There is nothing that will challenge any advisor or their advice. But there's an enroll now function or button that you can click that's all over that page, and it'll take them to our checkout page to where they can enroll for $47. They can pay, it's like an 11-month equivalent. They can pay a one-time fee that'll have them enrolled in the Academy forever. So if we're kicking out new material, they'll have it. If they have multiple kids, they'll have it as well. So they can do a one-time payment or they can subscribe monthly. I wanted the entry point to be for anybody. I've worked with a bunch of single moms who certainly couldn't write me a $3,000 check, but darn it, their kid deserved the chance because their kid worked their butt off.
Yeah.
And, so I'm confident that most could find a way, to come up with $47 and they can consume everything and shut it off. And that's fine with me. I want to flick the system by educating as many families as possible. So collegemoneyacademy.com, they can check out the videos and they could simply click on the enroll now button.
Well, Kelly, I think that every single solitary person listening to this podcast can, one, know that you're going to be engaging with your material because you were freaking super engaging with me. I'm just sitting here taking notes with this big smile on my face. You do have a very low barrier to entry. The price point is fantastic. We also know that happens to be a very palatable price point for just about everybody. And I personally want to thank you for taking this on as a life's mission because college can really truly change people's lives, but the financial burden shouldn't be life changing, right? And you have found a way to make that all happen. So Kelly, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
You bet. I appreciate it, man. It was fun talking to you, man.
Well, you are always looking, all of our financial services professionals who are listening to this are looking at a way to, one, become the family's advisor. And we've talked about that on other podcasts. What can you do to become that multi-generational family advisor? This is one of the ways to do it, right? To initiate this conversation early and have your clients be educated by an expert. And I also want all egos to be put aside here, which I know is difficult in our industry, but here's the kicker. This makes your bench look really deep. Like, oh my gosh, this guy, Kelly O'Connor, who's spoken in front of thousands of people, I know this guy, and I'm going to send you to his site because I know this is good quality stuff. Don't look at that as a detriment. Look at that as a huge benefit. And we know that when you do that, everything changes. So for everybody at the College Money Academy, Kelly O'Connor, and all of us here at Top Advisor Marketing, thank you very much for listening to the podcast today. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, like it if you haven't liked it, and rate it if you wouldn't mind. Give us a chance, but we will all see you on the other side of the mic very soon.
Are you ready to change the way you communicate with your clients? Are you tired of being the best kept secret in your area? Learn how to become a prolific online influencer, attract more ideal clients, and grow your business. Contact us today and see what the power of podcasting can do for your business. Click on the Contact Us link on our website at topadvisormarketing.com and set up a call to learn more. Follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook for more updates and information.
This was brought to you by Iris.xyz, a platform helping financial professionals become better in business and life through new media and new voices. Visit them and learn more at iris.xyz.